My name's Kath Hamilton. I'm one of the lecturing staff on the Surface Patern and Textile programme here at Swansea College of Art, UWTSD. The staff delivery team on the Surface Patern and Textile programme prides itself on its exceptional links to industry. We've been friends with Mark and Keith at Mini Moderns for over a decade and are proud to call them friends and supporters of our programme. It's been an amazing learning opportunity for our students to work alongside Mark and Keith to better understand the textile and wall covering industry, alongside the opportunity to explore a wealth of product for home and lifestyle.
My name's Emma and I'm a Surface Patern and Textile designer.
Hi, my name's Delaney and I'm a Surface Patern and Textiles designer.
I'm Kia and I'm a Surface Patern and Textiles designer and maker.
Hi, I'm Lucy and I'm a Surface Patern and Textile designer and maker.
My name's Lauren and I'm a Surface Patern designer and textiles maker.
My name is Jojo and I'm a Surface Patern and Textile designer and maker.
Hi, my name is Len and I'm a Surface Patern and Textiles designer and maker.
So Mini Moderns came out and briefed us and they gave us 3 options on different categories to choose from. The option I picked was Day Tripper. After speaking with both Mark and Keith, I really liked how they found inspiration in the most simplest of things, and most of their projects weren't crazy ideas, they were quite relatable. So I decided to pick Day Tripper and I decided to focus on Swansea.
So my Mini Moderns brief was Day Tripper, and it was all about the journey that I took to see my mum and my sister from Swansea to Cardiff to Bristol. And for me, it's such a significant journey and a very personal journey because it's the one that keeps us connected, and it's the one that I take frequently to see them on like celebrations, and it's really important to me and really personal to me.
So I chose A Sense of Place / Home. I think when I seen that title, it took me straight back to my nan's house. But yeah, all the memories that I had, and I currently live there as well for my last year of uni. So yeah, and like, she's always had like boxes and boxes of pictures underneath one of the beds, and it's always one of those things you get the pictures out and it's like memories from the house, nothing's ever changed in the house. I think that title, I was like, got a sense of home as such, like being away from home as well, being at my nan's. I was like, yeah, I think it would be a lovely, like another memory box, but like not the conventional like farmhouse project that I wanted to do either. I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring a bit of colour into my nan's life.
So when we first started the Mini Moderns project, we went on a trip to Swansea Museum for kind of get some drawing inspo, and I found a book there called Swansea's Bad Girls, which I was really drawn to because I thought, wow, that sounds like cool, and then thought, oh, let's make my project about this, because I chose the culture theme, which was, there was an option to choose books or films. I was drawn to it because it was just about women back in the day in Swansea that were just like running amok while the men were away. Yeah, just drew from around Swansea, and we went on other trips to like the V&A, so it was good to get some like Victorian like pocket watch and stuff to draw from, because it was things that they'd stolen in the story and things.
As a starting point for this project, when I was gathering research and creating mood boards of inspiration, I was largely inspired by Lucy and Day, the textile designer, and a sculptor named Sydney Gordon. Sydney Gordon's work focuses a lot on block colour and lines, and then I took that then into the way of drawing the images of the modernist architecture to try and create geometric shapes and patterns, and then I incorporated then textures I found around Swansea into the buildings to again create the sense of that patterns are hidden in the everyday and we forget to take notice.
One of my main inspirations, especially for the colour palette, was Lucy and Day's print rig. I was really inspired by her colour palette with the browns and the pinks and the deep like navy. My main motifs were the bridges, and I thought it was a great way to show the connection between me and my mum and my sister as like this kind of metaphor. Some of my motifs were literal, such as the Clifton suspension bridge on my main hero design, but also I took linear line work from the Prince of Wales bridge.
Started off, I would just take like little trips into Swansea myself, walk around, and I think having spoken to Mark and Keith and got a better sense of the style they work in and their reference to mid-century design, I tried to focus on the modernist architecture of Swansea. I gathered a lot of imagery based on the type of style I wanted to work towards, because their way of working isn't necessarily something I'm used to. I feel like my handwriting in design is more floral and quite fluid, whereas theirs is a lot more graphic, so I found it quite difficult to get into that headspace. So I started gathering research, thinking of where I want to see the work going, and after again taking imagery around Swansea and looking at types of shapes, I just went straight in with some rulers and fine liners. So I focused on working towards a product range that could be used for the home. Usually I work with wallpapers and textiles, but for this project I wanted to branch out, and I worked across different products such as tableware, candles and glass film as well.
For this project I also used a more digital way of working, so I would use my iPad on Procreate, and that's how I drew the bridge. I used Adobe Illustrator a lot more in this project. That way I was able to keep a really clean line. So my hero design I created on Illustrator first, and it's quite a simple design, but by then taking it into the print room I was able to elevate it, because then I was able to use flocks and foils, and that really added that kind of luxury feel to it.
So usually I tend to go more for like paper surfaces, so like stationery or greetings products, but I think this one really opened my eyes. There was options for stationery and greetings on there, on the options that we had. I kind of wanted to continue working with hard and soft surfaces, so I went for the interior side, but also then mixing it up with whether it was kitchen, whether it was bathroom, so then it brought in like fashion with a robe, even with oven gloves. It was a great opportunity to then see what else I can do other than stationery and greetings.
Well, in the studio we have a setup at the start of every project, so I guess I start drawing from that, just kind of in quite a loose way with different media like oil pastel or coloured pens, kind of drawing on top of things and layering and being quite like playful with it. I'm not too worried about doing exact drawings. I wouldn't say I'm not that good at detailed drawings, but that's not my what I'm drawn to. Kind of just draw little elements of things and then mix them with elements of other things. And then I think I'll take that to, I guess, digital and make a digital collage, and then we'll prepare a laser cut file and then laser cut that out of coloured papers or even collaged papers, found papers, quite like envelope inside of envelopes.
I'm incredibly process-led. I will be designing my motifs and thinking about what my patterns are going to be applied to. So for this mini moderns brief, I wanted to focus a lot in the print room, and one of my most inspirational pieces that I did from our Advanced Creative Inquiry project was playing with transparent pigments and how they lay on top of each other and giving that full-on colour. That was something that really drove this project, was me seeing how the motifs would overlay. So I was painting with a lot of gouache in just black and then exposing it onto screen and then seeing how they sat on top of each other in the print room and what kind of depth I could give to my designs. And then that led me towards the garden pieces that I did to see how it would play on hard surfaces.
As part of my creative process, I hand cut and laser cut a lot of different letters, rearranged them, reconstructed them as motifs that could then be put into a pattern repeat for a wallpaper. Techniques and processes I enjoyed using for this project were screen print and UV print as well onto tiles. I'd chosen an object that was related to culture. So within the culture boundary, I chose an object from Swansea Museum to then base the project on. So it was based on Swansea and print. So I'd typed out a set of text and then blacked out certain words and then put it into Photoshop, took out the words that you could still see. So it was only a big blacked out block of text. And I then repeated that into the sort of a checkerboard repeat. And then that design then went onto one of the Contrado cushions that was then going to be put downstairs into the studio.
Well, in my wallpaper design, I kind of wanted to create a shelf structure, but have the different sections be different landscapes. So I kind of put different grounds in and things like that. So it looked like they were on a shelf, but they were all in different places. I always start doing black fine liner drawings of all the objects and the things I want to use. And I extract things from them. But I realized at the beginning that I had too many like lines in their faces and that it was less commercial. So I removed them, but still kept the pattern in the rest of them except their faces. So I always start by doing that. And then I take it into Photoshop and I try different things, or I'll extract some patterns from them and like turn them into prints and things like that. That's usually how I work.
The biggest takeaway from this project for me is definitely continuing to work on a pattern even if I do feel slightly unhappy about it. Trying to be persistent in my pattern development has paid off for this project, and I reached a collection towards the end that I was really proud of.
Their working style is using a narrative and then using that to inspire them and taking that into a hero design and then taking that into a cord and using that as their main thing.
With this brief, I really enjoyed working with Mark and Keith themselves. They were very just like down to earth and lovely, and it was very nice to see like the difference between other live briefs we've done to see what it's like in industry, the freeness that you could have within industry as well.
Yeah, it was really good to have the option to, because we had like, it was, you do wallpaper and then it was 3 other things you could do, and there was stuff like I chose fragrance for one of them, which I'd never done before and never even like considered. So that was just like really fun to play and playful, and then like thinking of packaging and putting your designs onto packaging. And then I did fashion accessories as well, and I did gloves, and I'd never made gloves before. It was very difficult, and they're not perfect, but like it was good to explore that and stuff to take forward.
The thing I enjoyed the most about this project was definitely doing 2 full-size wallpapers. I started this course just before we went into the pandemic, and we were going to do a full-length wallpaper for our iDot competition. We never got the chance to because we went into lockdown. So to be kind of really directed in that way of you must do the wallpapers, I think that was just so brilliant, because I think it was something a lot of us were kind of shying away from a little bit because it's such a daunting large piece to do. But I think that was just absolutely, that was one of my favourite things.
The thing I enjoyed most about the project was creating a narrative from a starting point object. So starting from one object and trying to weave in a narrative through the motif, through the pattern, through the colour choices that I was making, and how I could kind of communicate that to an audience, but also making a wallpaper that looked beautiful.
Making the wallpaper and the tiles, I really liked the way that they came out. I also really enjoyed visualizing onto like kitchenware and stuff, because that's what I really like, and seeing how they would look. Because I think that kind of like made the collection a whole, having the visualizations and the wallpapers and then all the samples. I think seeing it come together was my favourite part.
At the minute, I'm working on a collection of patterns with a working title, The In-Between. The collection focuses on the ephemeral moments that are within nature and exploring the movement and the transition of the natural world. And a lot of the inspiration for this project comes from my hometown, and living at the foot of the Black Mountain, I take a lot of inspiration from the landscapes and the foliage just around there. Again, just having some appreciation for where I live and using that as inspiration for the patterns that I'm creating at the minute, and trying to capture these moments that are fleeting within this body of work.
So the project I'm working on at the moment is called Uncontrolled, and it's really all about me as a designer and how I've grown this year, how I've freed myself in the way I work and kind of broken away from the restraints within myself, and really learnt to embrace the unique way I work.
The project I'm working on now is inspired from the natural worlds of coral and looking at the textures and forms that it has and the surrounding areas. So like looking at the sand and waters as well, and how the waves affect the motions of them. And then I've decided to do interiors context again, but in a form of a material library. So coming up with an array of processes and hard or soft materials, and just going full on with whatever I can and get my hands on really for this project.
So I'm currently working on my self-directed brief that I've named Protopia, which is kind of talks about like a progression to a utopia. So kind of in both an environmental sense, so trying to make my practice a bit more sustainable and ethical. So using a bit more low impact processes and using pre-existing materials and collaging, and again like laser cutting and collage and building patterns out of existing material. on denim, so I'm looking at jeans and denim. Yeah, and kind of taking visual inspiration from like little itsy like found objects and little bits to the kind of links to pollution. So I went to an exhibition that was about like microorganisms and stuff, so I kind of drew from that, and then yeah, just sort of like found objects that kind of pollute the environment.
So for my current project, which is titled Look Closer, Closer Still, I'm focusing on fungi specifically. So I did look at a little bit of it in this project. Well, through my narrative with Mini Moderns, I was saying about how in the last 2 years, I've really developed such an appreciation for fungi and its vital role in just our ecosystem. So for this project, I wanted to dive completely into that and really immerse myself in just the fungi kingdom.
My current project is called These Lines Connect Us, and it's about my journey from my hometown of Worthing and coming to Swansea. And the thing that I loved most about Swansea when I visited was the beach, and I spent so much time in Worthing in my hometown in my childhood on the beach, and it was just such an instant connection when I came to Swansea. So it's all very beach themed, a lot of seaweed and shells, but also a lot of stitched line and applique. I've been exploring a lot of applique and stitch, which I haven't really got to explore yet, and that really comes with a sense of home for me as well.
At the moment, I'm working on a project that I've called The Secrets of the Garden, and it's about fairies and their secret lives in your garden. And I've taken inspiration from an old fairies book by Cicely Mary Barker and looking at her kind of fairy paintings and then taking the fairies and getting them to do different things. And I'm focusing on tea towels at the moment. So I've got like fairies in an orchestra, or like hang out in the garden, or going to a market. That's kind of the idea so far.
I'm exploring techniques that include monoprinting on silk screens. I really love this technique because it brings a hand-painted element to materiality.
So for this project, I really want to embrace all the materiality and processes that I really love. I wanted to use the elements that were things that I couldn't control. So this connection between the controlled and uncontrolled. I've used processes such as cyanotype and shibori and monoprinting. They were able to lend itself into this serendipity of processes and techniques and materiality.
So my material library is going to explore as many processes as I can, to be honest. So I'm planning on doing some enamel workshops, because I know that with copper it can react with colour. Some textiles, so it's for interiors. Even with paper I've had a look at. Screen printing, devores, illuminating discharge. I want to try anything and everything that we've learned across the whole 3 years of this course.
So in between my second and third year, the kind of uni gave me the opportunity to do an internship with Hyatt Denim, which is based in Cardigan. They're looking to achieve to be the lowest impact jean possible. I went there to help build a sustainability impact report, and then do a wash test on the jeans to see how durable they were. And it was like, yeah, it's really helped me, especially with my like independent project, and the written aspect of it, looking at how brands are moving forward to a more sustainable future, I guess, to like that whole protopia idea that I'm looking at now in my project. And yeah, even just the material of denim, I learned a lot. So that's kind of why I've gone with that in this project now, because it is such a like an ordinary thing that's in all of our lives. We all wear denim, we all own denim jeans. So it's obviously they do have a big impact, and we need to redefine that.
But I've found in the past that the detail in my work doesn't come out very well in fabric, but I've tried it now and it's working, so I'm quite happy about that. And using the digital fabric printer, I'm not very confident with that either, and kind of figuring out colours and stuff.
Coming up to the end of MDes, this has definitely been the most challenging year, but it's also come with a lot of benefits too. I think I've learned a lot about myself as a designer. I feel a lot more confident in my ability to work towards different briefs. I think my confidence now is finally reached a point where I do feel confident to work in the industry.
I think I've learned a lot this year about myself. I think what I love most about this program is the community and how we're really pushed to be the best versions of ourselves.
This year I've most learnt about, I think, myself and how I need to be more freeing with the facilities and pushing the boundaries. I think with, even if it's something we haven't been taught, is to go the extra mile and just have a research and have a look at artists that are out there And I think that's influenced my material library quite well as well.
My favourite things about the Surface Patern Textiles programme at Swansea College of Art is probably the freedom you have within the whole space. Like I said before, you have your own desk space that you can make your own, and then you can just move about the studio and use all the different equipment. So say the laser cut or the digital printer, you get taught how to do those things, then you can just do them on your own. And opportunities like the live briefs, like Mini Moderns and Rolls Royce, the tutors definitely want the best for us and get a lot of opportunities for us. So
there's been so many things that I've learned throughout the duration of this course. We're kind of jack of all trades. We have so many design skills within this course, and I think some of my favourite things have definitely been the screen printing, the laser cutting, the digital skills as well, which I just couldn't be without. I love my graphic design, so that's been incredibly fun, yeah.
I feel like I have grown a lot in terms of creating concepts, but also I feel like I've grown a lot in my independence and my confidence within my own skill and how I can then apply that myself independently in my own time.
The things I've learned this year are a lot of different processes and different machinery, and how to build a brand for yourself as well. So making a website and being consistent on your social media, which I think is really important.
We'd really like to thank Mark and Keith for their time and generosity throughout the duration of this project. From A to B, they've continued to support our staff and student body with exceptional care and generosity. It's projects like these that make what we do here at Surface Patern and Textiles real for our students. Lifelong learning ready for the workplace.